Well, I don't care what that says. We've started. Gonna let you tell my life. Approval of the agenda. Will someone please move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have an agenda. The minutes were sent to us electronically. Would anyone like to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
No.
As in favor?
John. Aye.
We have our minutes approved. Public participation. They're all down at City Hall participating away their little hearts, but they're not participating, listening.
Oh, boy.
Josh, anyone out there in Cyberland? Nobody, so I'm not going to read the spiel.
Oh, God.
Discussion. No editorializing, Mr. Knight. No, without other business in front of it, we have the high school report now. I'm going to start by just saying that we have a very pleasant run through the high school. And Kristen and Bill and I got to see a lot of things that were new to the school system, certainly in a facility that's new to the school system. Kristen, would you like to start by describing what you saw? in your place?
Sure, I'll start.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, for the tour. Yeah, it was, I loved, I love all the extras that are offered to the students. I was really impressed with the robotics class and the applied STEM. I actually have a picture. I'm going to send it out to the board text later tonight, but I wanted to talk about it here first. We actually saw they're making guitars. And they're painting them through this dip process, which I just thought was really cool. The academics is wonderful and the classes are wonderful. The teachers are wonderful. The building is wonderful. But I'm really impressed with the extras that the kids who, want to get their hands dirty a little bit can do. So thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I was impressed also with the special things, the applied STEM with the guitars, the robotics, and what really impressed me, having had experience in both print and electronic journalism, the podcasting area. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for taking as much time as you did with us during the tour, and it was my first time in the building, and I was very impressed.
It was a very good tour. Thank you, Brian. Before we start the presentation, since it's just us here, we have the whole meeting to spend with this. There's no reason we can't ask whatever questions we feel the need to. I think I'd like to do that though, rather than waiting till the end, because it'll be, pretty comprehensive report as we go through it. And I think we have demographics, curriculum, test scores, discipline, and college acceptances. So is it okay if we do questions after each section?
Absolutely.
Sections, if any? Thank you. Okay, you're up.
All right. So first, thank you guys for coming the other day. Nice to show you around the building and also try to get Ms. Conway to spend more money on additional products. She did have a brief conversation with Mr. O'Neill in the hallway about purchasing a nice camera for her daughter. So that was nice. So we had a great year this year here at Torrington High School. And that's not to say there were not a fair share of challenges. And of course, a great loss at the end of the year with losing a senior so close to graduation. So not ending on quite the note we had hoped, but certainly overall a very nice year for us, especially considering moving into our brand new digs. So we're very excited. And before we really get into the presentation, I'd like to acknowledge several of my department chairs are here this evening. And if you do have specific classes or questions about specific classes or curricular areas, we have Wayne from our music department. Wait, Wayne. Maggie from our science department, Catherine from our world language department, and Erin from our English department. So really excited to have them here this year to be able to answer any specific questions and also show some support for our school. So we can go to the next slide, Josh. And I'll hand it over to Mr. Pearson.
So before I jump into the demographic data, I'd like to take a second to reflect on last Friday when we had Diversity Day. I want to give a shout out to Erin Sullivan in particular and team for all of the work that she did for getting Diversity Day up and running, and Mary Costa as well too. What was critically important from Diversity Day was watching the just different students come together, share elements of their culture, and have students learn from one another in ways that's intangible, that's away from data. School's not only always about the data, it's about the cultural experience that students take with them when they leave. So with that stated, when I look at our demographic data from 2017, when I look at our demographic data from 2017 to 2024, there's been an 18% jump increase in student population.
This reminds me of that experiment where the gorilla is a gorilla. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. How many people actually see it? Yeah.
So back to what I was saying, there's been an 18% demographic shift and jump, and it's been a massive shift. Unlike other high schools in the state that are waning, we're actually growing. In particular, from 2017 till now, there's been a 148% increase in our ML and EL population. So what that's showing us is that the takeaway from that is that our population is growing, and certain segments in our population is also growing. And what we're doing as an admin team is looking to see how we can best support all of our students.
That's it on demographics?
That's on
Okay, I have a
demographics.
couple of questions. First of all, I guess the asterisks in a couple of those first columns are because there aren't enough students to identify.
Yep.
Yes,
Without being
correct.
specific. But what's the asterisk after 39 on 2 or more races?
So they
does that
changed
refer to?
they changed the wording in how they asked that question on the state database. So because of the change, they do put an asterisk because some people who previously may have identified as more than one race may not have identified in the new way the question is worded. So it's just because the wording of the survey changed.
Okay, like Roger Maris's home run, right?
Yes.
Okay, got that. Kristen?
No.
No,
Okay, onward.
So we're just gonna kind of share a little bit of highlights from all our different college and career pathways. So you can always let us know if you have questions like after each, or if you want to kind of save them for the end, we can go back.
For all that, we'll do all the curricular questions
Okay, perfect.
at the end of this. Okay.
So for health and wellness, we have 12 students that have just found out that they're going to be doing an internship over the summer at Charlotte Hungerford, and 6 for McCall. We also have some students that are volunteering at the volunteer program for Charlotte Hungerford Hospital. This year, and the last Board of Ed meeting, you got to hear from some of our HOSA members. Ms. Brewer helped to start HOSA at our school, which has been awesome for that pathway for future health professionals. So we have 11 students currently in that. For our applied arts pathway, really this new building has done a great job of helping us to kind of blow up that pathway a little bit with, things like our podcast studio and some really cool features that we have here. Some other aspects that have been great this year is our Radar Report with journalism and our students that got to participate in our district-wide art show. Then for our STEM and high-tech manufacturing pathway, we have great connections with Northwest Community College, with students being able to go there, and we've had students that have been able to gain micro credentials as they did last year. This year we had 27 THS Science Club students that participated in the Science Olympiads. And we currently have 12 students that are in our Builders Trade program. And then for the public safety, criminal justice, we have our students go to do a visit at the police academy, and tons of interactive speakers that come to our classes at the school to explore that path.
Up next is the business entrepreneurship pathway. We have Amy Ferrari, who has been working very hard with the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board to continue the Future Bankers program. We have 9 students who went through there. They actually were able to get working hours at the local banks over spring break. It's a fantastic opportunity to actually get them enrolled in a program that has a direct correlation to a job immediately after high school if you want to take it or during college. So you go right into becoming helps them get certified towards a teller. So it's a fantastic opportunity for them. We have the education pathway as well. We have elementary school volunteers with Mr. Pierce Saint has put together a fantastic program along with we talked to Ed Green up here a couple times as well, who has really started the program with Mr. Pierce Saint. We have now 37 students in the group. They go and visit the local elementary schools and conduct their volunteer hours there. They're able to go after school and get the rides going. They kind of do everything on their own and they sign in and they do a great job keeping track of it. Develop some independent skills as well. We have the CPR first aid certification that Jessica DeMarco had put on for the students. They're doing her FCLA classes. We have shadowing lessons at the Torrington Public Schools, which we kind of just talked about. And then we just had last week the paraprofessional, or was it this week? No, it was last week. Paraprofessional certification at our school, which we were able to get 7 students certified for the Parapro test. Parapro test. Paraprofessional
Exam.
test. And it was a, yeah, for the exam. Thank you. It was excellent. It's a great opportunity for those students to be able to get certified, to go get a job immediately out of school. A lot of them are bilingual, which will be extremely helpful. Nice for us to make that connection and do that for them. So hopefully, in our whole idea here, I think along with the community members, when we meet with Northwest Chamber of Commerce, is to keep the students homegrown, keep them here as long as we can, try to find a homegrown, get them a job that we can provide for them that they can afford to live here. So,
One quick addition I'm gonna make, Sue and I were actually over today, we were meeting with Kim Schulte. And our students who are coming out of our 2 programs here and in this pathway actually had a significantly higher pass rate than any other group that took the Parapro exam here. Yes, so our kids coming out of that program did remarkably well.
So the next slide, you've heard quite a bit about it at board meetings already. I know Aaron Sullivan was going to talk about it. I think maybe got us and other teachers as well. Angel Norridge is just about to go to Belize. But our international travel here is an exceptional opportunity. I don't see it in many other districts that I see that we are where we are going is unbelievable. And it really isn't, it's not a vacation. It is a learning experience. It is an amazing learning experience that the kids come back with fantastic opportunities to talk about what they have done, what they have learned, and just their experience of kind of being out there on their own. And I know the leaders of the groups every time have fantastic objectives that they go out to and reach and goals that they're achieving. Do a great job with that. We've had our ethics bowl. We had 12 people compete with that, and they're from our history department, Patrick Richardson. With that group, they do a great job in the ethics bowl. I don't know if you did talk about that to the board, but they compete against private schools like Hotchkiss and Lewis Chafee. And there's Torrington, there's maybe another couple other public schools around, but they step up and they beat a couple of those schools during those competitions. It's really fun and it's exciting for them. Great learning opportunity again. The community outreach, learning leadership opportunities. We have the Reader Rally, not this year, but next year. We've had pep rallies, and I'm going to mention it here, but Mr. Pierce mentioned the multicultural celebration day that we had. It was just, I mean, it was outstanding. Just seeing it firsthand, it is really unreal. I mean, I took a video of it and showed it to people in other districts, and they want to know how they can see this. They don't have the diversity that we do. It's just a unique opportunity that we have. I think Mary Costa did an outstanding job with that, and Aaron sliding the pep rally into it as well was fantastic. Great.
All right, this is just a little bit of data on what will be our 9th and 10th graders next year. So our current 8th graders and current 9th graders, just if you wanted to kind of see where their interests kind of fell within the pathways. So pretty similar, like our current 9th graders and our 8th graders, with some of their biggest interests being in STEM, high-tech manufacturing, business entrepreneurship, and health and wellness currently. Nice variety within the pathways.
So this slide is about our new courses that you guys have approved in the past. So we just wanted to kind of put this up here to say thank you for approving. We're running them this year. It is quite a change for our English department. We have a number of different courses that if you just look at the names of them, you can see how it might draw students more into the courses and draw their interest. We have horror, novel to film, superheroes and antiheroes, mythology. And we have the traditional English for Humanities 1, English for Humanities 2, which is really English for across the board if they still want to take the traditional English. And American Lit 1 and 2, same thing with that one. We also have 2 fantastic opportunities in the science department with UConn EC Earth that Maggie McGillicuddy put forward. And I know she came to talk to you guys about that already. But it's an excellent opportunity for students another opportunity to open up, and I'll talk more about this later, but courses to almost everybody that's able to get into the course. It's not restrictive. It allows people to take a UConn course, dive into it, to try it, see if they feel successful in college, pass a college course in high school, and maybe grip onto that and want to take more and actually go to college instead of thinking about something else.
So that's the end of the section on the pathways and curriculum. So if you guys have any questions on that section?
Kristen,
I actually don't.
okay. Bill?
Neither do I.
Then I'm not going to be any different.
Can I, is it
Yeah.
okay if I just, it's not really a question, but sorry, and maybe I'm making an assumption that I shouldn't, but micro credentials, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, gosh, I should have like a list of what they are. Angel Norwich has,
No, just,
I'm sure.
just in general,
But-
what does that mean?
They are different things with like lab safety and things like that students can kind of carry into a career in the future and even can really help them if they're planning on going into the science field.
Okay.
So not quite like a full certificate like Safe Serve
Yeah.
that we would have for the culinary program.
Yeah.
But similar, but more focused and not quite as, all encompassing.
Okay, got it. And the only other thing I wondered, because I know you've shared this with me and I thought it was so fascinating. A day in the life at the Charlotte Hungerford Experience. I mean, could you just give the committee just a taste of what that is? Because didn't we have a student who was able to observe a C-section at one point?
Oh,
And that,
so, yeah, that was actually a day in the life. We did not participate in this year, but we've done it every other year.
Yep.
We just didn't work into our calendar
That's
this
okay.
year, but what you're referring to is the actual internship.
okay,
So in the internship, the students were able to go. It's an incredible opportunity. We have that coming up
This summer.
July.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually asked them, we had so much interest in this. It's very competitive, so we do actually make them apply. Counselors and admin team get together, decide who's going to be part of the team that goes to the hospital. But they are all assigned different departments. Last year, one of our students did get to sit in and watch an actual C-section, observe it. It's quite incredible.
Yeah.
We find a lot of students fight for the, they want the surgical, they want the ICU, they want the emergency room. But the ones that came back with a lot of learning experiences were actually the education, community health, and the labs. They like the lab. We had a lot of kids that loved the research. So it's interesting.
They also went to, Miss Brewer took students to SESI this year. That's part of like Hartford Hospital. And that's the Center for, it's like educational, like simulation of different things. So the kids got to experience like what it's like to do like laparoscopic surgeries and different things like that. They have all interactive tools, which is pretty cool. And it's actually like a free trip that you can do with students, but you have to book like way in advance. But it's a really cool interactive experience. Kids got to try a whole bunch of different things related to the healthcare field, which is pretty cool.
yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm not trying to derail. I just thought it was important because the detail around so much of what's happening is so fantastic. And I don't think there's an awareness, and therefore, I mean, we really appreciate all the work that's gone into the development of these pathways. So thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, John. Ellen.
Jack, can people speak up because I can barely hear.
Sure.
We're actually shouting. from here.
I think I need a hearing aid.
You can.
Thank you.
Want to move your chair?
Would you like to move closer? He asked.
No, I can hear certain people. I can't hear you. I can't hear John,
That's because you're talking that way, unfortunately, the way
Maybe
it's
that's
set up, yeah.
but I can hear everyone else.
Anyway,
Okay,
All right.
sorry. That's okay. Thank you.
So we're going to start dipping in a little bit to our data in terms of the SAT and PSAT, which are the principal measurements that we, of course, are accountable for here at the high school level. We did see in the overall percentage of students meeting proficiency, we did see some growth in this year compared to last year. As you can see on the chart there, 2024, 16% of the students in the cohort of 2025 met proficiency. This year, 17%, so a minimal, but still an improvement. And in the class of 2027, a 16% proficiency in 2024, up to a 20% proficiency in 2025. There were, of course, other factors that play into this. We did switch over to the digital platform for the SAT and PSAT over the past few years. And then there's been some other things. The scores are certainly not where we want them to be. And we'll delve a little bit more into that, particularly as we talk about the math data, because that's where we see our largest area of concern and possible growth. Our reading for information data actually looks pretty strong this year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Pearson.
So the better news, the SAT reading data is something I'm incredibly proud of. In particular, I want to give a shout out to my English department. This is the department that I do evaluate, so I'm a little bit biased towards them. Now, with that stated, when we look at the SAT, which is the big kahuna, we see students in the 2023, the class of 24 at 38%. For 2024, 44%. And then for this year, 2025, at 46%. That is something that I want to jump in on a mountain and shout it from the top of the mountain and say, congratulations to our students and congratulations to the hard work of the English department. In particular, if we go back a little bit to 2022, where it reads MS data grade 8, we see students at 42% for 2022, 54% for 2023, 55% for 2024, and 46% for 2025, which is the SAT, which is a harder test. So as the students are with us, they're growing and they're developing, even though that they're taking harder and harder tests. So that is something that we're not seeing often comparatively to other high schools when I look at the data. Now, another data that I'd like to highlight is if you look at the MS data grade 7, we're at 37% for class of 2028, 36% for the MS data SBA for 2024. And for the PSAT 2025, we're at 47%. It's funny, the longer the students spend time with us, the smarter they get. I think it has something to do with me, but I don't know. With that, I'm turning it over back to Brian Scott on math data.
Yeah, so I'll take the not so great. So this is our math data. If you look to a year-to-year comparison, it's a pretty flat line, 17%, 19%, 17%. Similarly, if you look at the PSAT, 10, 21%, 17%, 21%. So it's certainly not where we would like that data to be. We have begun working much more intensely with our math department to try to improve tier 1 instruction or regular classroom instruction. We've actually taken on the last few faculty meetings for professional learning purposes to talk about some work that I know Sue's department has been working on as well around the building thinking classrooms to try to spur that on. We also posed to the math department and some other departments about what we can do across the entire school to assist so that the weight of trying to improve these scores does not fall solely on our math department. So we talked with our social studies department, we talked with our science department about what are things that we could start doing across multiple courses in an effort to try to improve these scores.
So now we're going to look at the AP information, some of the AP information here. This is mostly looking at enrollment along with AP students with scores 3+. Something that you want to take a look at here is the jump we made from 2023 to 2024. And 2025 will look similar to 2024. It's close. We just finished the scores today. They don't come until July, like we talked about last year at this time too. But if you notice, the total AP students that were taking tests in 2023 was 77. Currently, last year we had 92. So that's a big jump. From number of exams that were taken in 2023, we were at 99, and number of exams taken in 2024 is 162. AP students with scores of 3+ went from 33 in 2023 to 51 in 2024. And the percentage of total AP students with scores above a 3+, so that this breaks it down to more of a percentage where it relates. Due to the jump in numbers, is from 42% to 55%, which is excellent. So that's a big number, which means over half of our students now that take the AP test are getting scores of 3+, which means it's possible it can count towards college credit. It's a big deal. Those are fantastic numbers to look at. What happened in 2024 and this year is we opened up open enrollment. So if any student wanted to take any AP exam, they could take AP Japanese, which we had some, or Chinese, which we had some take this year. That we don't offer AP Chinese here, but they can study it on their own independently, and we will provide a proctor for them and provide the test. So it has opened up a lot of opportunities for students that may not get to be able to take an AP course because it bumps up against other UConn courses or band or something else that they want to get into. So it opens up the opportunity for them to continue to take AP. And the numbers have jumped up quite a bit. There is no restriction on that. You don't have to have an honors course before. If you want to jump in and try an AP course, we encourage it. So it seems like it's been working pretty well, and the results, it's paying off. I wasn't sure what the results would be, but the fact that their percentages are going up helps us want to maintain that, keep it going. The total AP students, this is just a graph. It's similar to, thank you. The percentage of total AP students with scores of 3+, we just talked about it. It's the same thing, just another graph. Sorry, we can go to the next one. Or any questions on AP? Yep.
I don't,
No,
No,
it's an incredibly complicated subject, which would require an awful lot of orientation for us to be able to intelligently look at these numbers. The one question I will ask is, you report the scores at 3, 4, 5. Are these the scores that most of the schools that our kids are getting into can carry with them?
So generally speaking, state universities will take a score of 3 and above and apply it for college credit. As you get into more select universities, some of them do require a 4 as a passing score. Others will not accept AP or ECE courses for college credit. So, obviously a lot of that has to do with money. Some schools really don't want to hand out credits, rather than charging students tuition for those credits. But generally speaking, yeah, most state universities is a 3 to pass, and then the students can receive college credit for that score.
So, we have a student who's graduating. I've never heard of this number. It sounds outrageous. I didn't believe it. It is true. He's graduating with 100 credits. He's going to college credits. He took every possible course that we offered, took independent APs, took the dual enrollment program courses that we had with Northwest Community College, went to school at night. And took as many college courses as he could. He signed up for everything from recreational courses to whatever he could. And ends up going in and needing to take, I think, only half a year. Was that 1 full year? I think he goes into being a senior at UConn. Everything. So he's got 1 year at UConn.
Have his bachelor's degree.
One
like,
year.
how does that fit into like a planned program though? Like they were able to make that work?
They
Or
were able to make it work, yeah. We have, because UConn is a little easier because it's a direct link between.
Yeah, with our ECE courses, because they are UConn courses, he was able to select out a program for himself. So the course is lined up with what his major is going to be. So he has 1 year left of college.
wow,
Yeah. So the ECE are early college experience courses.
he's probably biliterate too.
I believe he was, actually.
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's obviously a extreme, but we have a lot of students that are cutting off about 1 year of college, 2 years, which is fantastic, and huge for parents.
John?
Sorry.
I have a question. You said that any student can take an AP
Yep. Test.
course or exam, whatever. How is that relayed to the students? How would they know that?
So we communicated through both the counseling office and also through specific courses. So for example, it used to be that the curriculum was very closely aligned between AP courses and ECE courses. A few years ago, that started to deviate and the courses aren't quite as aligned. So where previously we used to offer courses that were both AP and ECE, now we just offer the ECE course. But a lot of students who perform really well in those courses feel as though they have enough command of the curriculum that they can sit for the AP exam, even though it was not an AP course. So for our kids who are in like the UConn bio courses, for example, they'll sit for the AP bio exam. And for a large number of them, quite well.
But what about a student who's not in an AP class?
We'll send an announcement out for AP, for Parent Square.
Yep.
And I have a form that if anybody wants to sign up for a course, that they have to let me know on a form first, but then I have to create the course, then I give them a join code. And anybody that has the join code, and I post the join codes, that teachers post in their classrooms, they go on there and you punch in the join code. As soon as you punch in the join code to a College Board, then you're taking the test. Then you're able to take the test. We communicate it. We have a assemblies. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yep, we bring all the students down to the auditorium, explain what AP looks like, just so in case you punch in a joint code and now you're taking an AP test, you're not sure what it is.
Right.
This is what you're signing up for.
Do you have a lot of students that are not in like AP classes that take the exam or one?
No, the majority of the students who are taking AP exams are students who are in ECE courses. Certainly, we do have students that are taking an AP exam that's not directly aligned with their ECE course. But most of the students who are taking AP exams are students who are currently taking ECE courses. Right?
But also we have the AP psychology. There's no pre-requirement, but right? You can go into AP psychology, philosophy, UConn philosophy. Those courses allow students to you can go right in. Any student can take those courses, open enrollment. But the UConn, right? There's open enrollment as well. So I can't think of meteorology. Earth science, sorry. Yeah, so those are open enrollment, which do get more students in. That's what we were talking about before, to take that and then believe in themselves. When they take a course like that, they pass it, and then they think next year, maybe I'll take an AP course.
Right, right.
Yeah, which helps build up their.
Challenge themselves
Yeah.
as they go through the.
And who pays for the AP test?
You guys.
That is my point. So
No,
there's no reason that a kid
I think
wouldn't,
it's
there's no financial reason that a kid
We pay
wouldn't
half
take
of
the
it.
AP test.
It's a 50.
They pay half of it, you pay half of it.
And do we reimburse it if they get a 4?
You
Programs like.
You wanna do that? If you're offering.
And
Well, I
what's
get
the
more
cost?
kids to sign up.
What's the cost now?
It's $96, so we charge them 45. We pay the other amount. And it's, if they don't show up to take the test, so if they skip the test, and we go over all these rules ahead of time. Then if they don't show up to take the test, they signed up for it, they owe the full amount, they have to pay the full amount. And yeah, or if they're taking an AP course and they don't take the AP test, because the AP test is required if you're taking the AP course. And they get knocked down.
Would have been my next question if we kept talking about it.
Yes, yeah.
No, because that's not.
Yep,
Right.
yep, so they do lose the weighting.
As I said, we could go hours of orientation before we could have a meaningful discussion. Yeah. Anyone else? Once going to this, okay, onward.
All right. So one of the things we thought we would touch on briefly tonight is about the professional learning that we do here at the high school to help our teachers to improve Tier 1 instruction in the classroom. Some of the elements of that we did very differently this year. We took a little bit of a new approach with some of them, which is why I'm glad our department heads are here. So new teacher workshop was something I started when I first came to the district. New teacher workshop is for all teachers who are in their first or second year with us here in Torrington, even if they have taught somewhere else previously. In all past years, I used to organize and run new teacher workshop with the assistance of our coaches. This year, I turned it over to our department heads. So our department heads have been selecting different topics that they felt that they wanted to cover with the new teachers and have done a session. Every month, we've done a session with the new teachers. So we've done things on classroom management, parent communication, and then some more ones that are related more specifically to initiatives that we've done in the past across the district. So, this has been one of our professional learning highlights from the year. Another one that we did a little bit different this year was Classroom Lab. So the way that we structure Classroom Lab traditionally, which this part remained the same. It's a group of teachers who come together, and then with the help of our coaches, they select, in this particular case, elements of the Portrait of the Graduate, and they conduct lessons on that subject. And this year they used the Portrait of the Graduate competencies as a way to measure the success of the lessons. It's completely run without administrators. We do not go to the lessons. We do not go to the debrief. The reason why we've structured it that way for the past 3 years is I really do believe that teachers are going to be much more willing to take chances, try new things, try new approaches without an administrator sitting in the room. Obviously, if your evaluator is sitting in the room, you're a little bit less likely to take chances with your lesson. So Classroom Lab this year remained essentially the same in its structure, but we did shift over to using the elements of the Portrait of the Graduate. This year, we did introduce a new element for professional learning, which was our Critical Friends Protocol, which is sort of a miniature version of Classroom Lab. So teachers partnered up this year. And the way Critical Friends Protocol worked is they went and observed each other, and then they met afterwards to give each other feedback about both the successes and struggles of the lesson that they observed. We did switch to having many of our faculty meetings have a professional learning focus. This was the second year we did that. We also brought in an aspiring administrators workshop this year. So we do have many teachers here who are either in programs to become education administrators or already hold a certificate to be educator administrators. We attempted to do it every month. I think we did miss a month or two because things got a little crazy at the high school. But we attempted every month to host an aspiring administrators workshop. And we covered a variety of things. The basic idea behind aspiring administrators workshop is that, and I think I speak for all of us sitting here, when you go through what's called an O92 program and then go out and get your first job as administrator, you find that almost nothing you learned in your program has anything to do with the job that you do. And what you do every day has almost nothing to do with what you went and learned in school. So this was a way to give people who are thinking about pursuing being administrators an opportunity to learn firsthand what it's kind of like to be an administrator. And I think we successfully scared almost all of them out of becoming administrators. And then the last one has been administrative professional development. So again, we try to do it every month. This is the second year we've tried to do it, where we do a session specifically related to professional learning for the administrative team. Sometimes I will organize it and post it. Other times I'll have one of them do a case study of something that we've worked with or worked through this year to try to make sure that we're all up to date on all the latest legislation and the most current practices in dealing with situations. Next slide, Josh.
Our administrators have to have 09, our department heads have to have 092s.
No. Many of them do.
So the next slide talks about the chronic absenteeism, something we have to report to the state every year. We were working through this. We have a loss of credit appeals. Students will lose credit for classes that they don't attend more than 10% of their courses, whether it's a half year, it'll be 9. If it's a full year, it'll be 18. So when they hit the specific numbers, and they're passing, they have to pass their course to appeal the course. You can't give a credit back if you're not giving the credit in the first place. But once they pass the course and they have over the limit, it'll trigger a response from our attendance team. An automatic mailing will go out. And we keep track for the chronic absenteeism at certain marks along the way. So it's not just one time at the end of the year they get it. They're being notified every time they're chronically absent at certain marks along the way. Around 3, 6, 9, right around there. So as soon as they hit those marks, then we send out the letters. So parents are notified by Parent Square, and students are notified as well. Clarification this year, we have clarification of the attendance practices here, both from the central office side and from our side to the students. And as far as what our expectations of the students were to come into the class, whether an unexcused absence or an excused absence, they both count against you. Even if a parent calls you in, it still counts as one of your 10 or 9 absences. So we made that pretty clear this year to students. They were all pretty aware of it, even during our attendance appeals, they understood that really the only things that we're getting to get them the credit back was if you had a doctor's appointment, any one of the court appointment, or possibly any other accepted excuses. We have the leave visits that are still occurring, which is a fantastic program, allows us to see if we have anybody that we can't get in touch with, have not seen in a long time or worried about. We've been reaching out, DCF calls were made, we sent our own team out to the house, check in on them, make sure things are going okay, see what we can do for them, how we can get them back into school. If we require some adjustments on our side, what kind of support we can give them. And we've had some success with getting some students back into school. We've had the alternative program here as well, which is run by our 2 teachers. We have 2 different rooms that the students are in. That's an attendance-based alternative program where the students have built fantastic relationships with the teachers in there. They are fantastic teachers that really get to know them through their mental health awareness. It's about wellness. It's about getting yourself ready, building confidence, and really, and obviously they keep track of the credits in the curriculum as well, whatever the subject of learning based on where they are. Great opportunities for all the students.
The alternative program, of course, would be transitioning over to the FAST Academy.
Right.
One of our 2 teachers that has really helped organizing this program off the ground is going to be heading over to the FAST Academy to help with that program. Our other alternative program teacher is actually moving out of the country, so she will not be heading over to the FAST Academy. But it's a great program, and I really hope that we continue to see that success as it moves over to FAST to forms. Next slide, Josh.
All right, this next slide is some of our behavioral data. What's nice about this slide, I would say, is we have a downward trend in behavioral referrals in majority of the areas. One area in particular that I'd want to highlight is in the use of like nicotine or restricted substances. We've seen a pretty dramatic, I would say, decrease. So if you look in 22-23 school year, nicotine, tobacco, we had 46 referrals. The 23-24, that dropped from 46 to 38. And then this past year down to 10. For restricted substances, where we would typically find that being like THC or marijuana, it went from 60 in the 22-23 year to 18 in 23-24. And then down to 10 in 24-25. I think we see a pretty dramatic decrease from 22-23 to the 23-24 year. In some of those respects could be to the way that we are processing disciplinary referrals. We switched to SWIS, which is like a digital referral system. And I think I could speak for all of us at the high school that's made it a lot easier for people to be able to write up a student and refer something in the system, but also it's helped us a lot with our consistency and clarity of expectations around the school with staff and with students. And we've all, I think, really worked well together on that. You even see that with technology violations going from 827 in the 22-23 year down to 784, and then all the way down to 579 in the current school year, which is pretty big. So those are some of the more major highlights within the data.
Now, or you want to wait till the end of the discipline?
I have a question specifically on
Sure.
this. For the use possession of restricted substances. Or any of these, is that if it's like a 10-day suspension, or if it's like an in-school suspension or expulsion, everything combined?
Yep.
Everything
Everything
combined.
combined.
Okay,
Yeah, so regardless of what the outcome of the referral is, this is still the number that the
it's the
referral.
incident.
was
Yep.
the event, this is the event.
Thank you. Yep.
For the next slide, we're focusing on the infraction data, ISS days, as well as ISS events. Days meaning how many days students are in school suspension, events mean individual events that occurred. So what we were looking at is when we did the 1, 2, 3, 4 year trend line data, we noticed that the data kept increasing. We're increasing how many event students were spending in the ISS as well as in OSS. We sat down in the 23-24 school year and said, this is something that's no longer acceptable. We need to figure out what's going on and we can do better. So what we did was we launched a behavior academic MTSS, which included the school psychologist, Caitlin Chabot, our school counselors, some teachers, some students, myself, and then the other admins were in there that gave like some feedback. I visited some schools to find out what they were doing. Caitlin did some research to find out what would work best for students. And then we asked students exactly, what can we do to best support you? What we identified, and then we created some sort of, we created a structure that we're gonna put in place. We're sitting down and looking at the data this year, and it's something that we're incredibly proud of. What we see is that from 2023 to 2024, ISS days went from 601 to 438. From ISS events, 720 to 582. OSS days, 1,481 down to 983. And OSS events, 391 down to 317. So what is this? What's the story behind this data? What we're doing differently is we're doing monthly qualitative and quantitative behavior meetings. So we're reaching out to teachers, finding out what exactly are you seeing. We're reaching out to students, we're reaching out to the counselors, and we're reaching out to the parents to try to identify what is it that we can do better to best support your students. And then we're also looking at, as Amanda stated, the Swiss data. Swiss is something that we launched 2 years ago. The teachers love it because they can write up students quickly, and it makes our job fun. So when we look at the quantitative data, we look to identify a precise problem of practice. What is it that we're showing from this student, and how do we best support this student in particular? From that monthly meeting, we create something that's known as behavior contracts. From the behavior contracts, we sit down with the individual students and we explicitly tell them, this is the behavior that you're showing. This is how we're going to work with you to support it. These are the consequences if you don't fix it. And as well as these are the successes when you do fix it. What's really interesting is when we sit down with students and we look at the data, show them, you've done this 4 times this month. It really starts to click in for the students, and then they start to realize this is something that I'm doing, and this is something that I'm going to change. For other students, they're shocked. They're like, I can't believe I did that this many times. We're not at all not giving students consequences. As a matter of fact, we're holding them a little bit more accountable. By holding them a little bit more accountable, students are recognizing that we're not here to play, and we're going to make sure that we hold you accountable. Something else that we do is that we do restorative meetings with the students to student, as well as student to teacher. Something else that we're doing is a no contact contract. From the restorative meetings, if we sit down with students and we see that they cannot resolve the conflict verbally, then we're going to create a no contact contract, which lasts for about 30 days, and students will stay away from one another. If they violate that no contact contract, the consequence is harsher again. So overall, this is data that we're really proud of. And we always tell the students, you are part of the community. We want you to be part of the community. When you are part of a community, there's responsibility. And your responsibility is to make sure that you uphold our board policies as well as our expectations and our limits.
And one other thing to keep in mind, as you look at this data, as Kenny pointed out, particularly, there's a significant drop from 23-24 to 24-25. But even if we look back to the 21-22 school year, you remember that this was a school of 880 students versus 1,050 students. The fact that there are more students or more events for OSS and ISS compared through those 2 years, it's important to keep in mind that there are about 200 more kids here. So with more students, of course, comes more referrals. All right, Josh. Oh, sorry.
So the number of events doesn't correlate to the number of students.
No.
So are there more repeaters than non-repeaters?
Yes, and that's where the behavior contracts
That's where
come to
the-
place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next slide is just a quick list for you of some college acceptances. Just like to show off, especially the last one on the list there. And I'm trying to point it at one particular one. But no, these are just some of the colleges our kids were accepted to this year. Certainly not a complete list. We have lots of students going to amazing colleges, and it really is about a student finding the best fit for them. Not necessarily, trying to get every kid into the most select college, but it is always nice to see some of the colleges listed that our kids are heading on to.
It's also exciting to see the number of students that are choosing the free community college and taking advantage of it to use it. We have a number of trips, field trips up there. They invite us in a great partnership with Northwest Community College, where we bring students up there, bus load at a time, tour the campus, see its actual college campus, what the classrooms are like, talk to some of the professors, come back down. So it's a great opportunity for them to see, you get your real experience in. They talk to students who are leaving there with all their credits and going to colleges, not just UConn, but state college, going to like Wesleyan. And all the credits are transferring over. So they get a little faith in the community colleges up the road, which helps quite a bit. Yeah, so this is a next slide. So I forgot to mention that Emily Resnick, I should have mentioned her, but she was the AP coordinator with myself. She did a fantastic job this year. I just want to say thank you to her because the amount of work that she had to do this year, due to extenuating circumstances, we had an abnormal amount of makeup exams. And then abnormal about after that, due to something else with College Board. So it was just testing seemed to go on for 5 weeks. And it was never ending. She did a great job just figuring it out, never a complaint. It was a fantastic partner to work in this. So I just want to thank her for her job with the AP, which leads us to student life. As you can see some pictures here from the international trips here. Military ball, Mr. Wilson at the, what is that, the Sandwich Showdown. They're at a couple of other locations here. It's hard to say. Oh yeah, the trade show, right? We did have we had the trades council, the union come in for the trades council, and we have a class here that's taught here by the trades council. They come in, they teach them it's called the multi-craft trade. And they are able to go through this internship, get their OSHA certification. They will help them guide their way to an actual one of the trades. They can choose which trade they want to get into by the time they're done, but kind of dip their toes in every trade along the way. And then they go and visit one of the trade sites that kind of has all of the options there. So it gives them a deeper look into the options. It's been a great program for us. It's based on federal funding. They're not sure they're going to be around next year or not. But we're going to take advantage of everything we can. We have a lot of students. We have 12 students in that program, which will give them a leg up when they go for a union job, which is a fantastic job. This is because of the new building that is a connection with made. So it's a great connection that the building committee has put together. And
This is where they actually get started with the tools and all that.
yep, they get a stipend when they're done for tools. They can complete the whole course. Yep. It is a little restricted. You have to be a senior. You have to be graduating. You have to have a driver's license. There are some certification things you have to have, but it's understandable.
Questions on this last part or questions on the whole? Just comments or questions?
No, thank you for the very thorough presentation. Happy to see all the good things happening.
Always happy to see the high school posse come. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good school. Good school.
Thank you. We think so.
We like that.
Okay, I guess we're ready to move on through the agenda unless there's some last minute thing. Summer school, probably not much of an update, but we might have numbers.
I can give you some preliminary numbers, but I want to preface this by saying that these numbers are going to change, with the exception of elementary. We will have 250 children participate K-5 in the summer learning program. Those children, so we started kind of with a backwards design list, and we started going through the list of students to be invited based on academic need. And if somebody RSVP'd, no, thank you. If there was a decline, then we would go to the next child on the list. But we will have 250 kids. So we will have, because of the way we're structuring the elementary, it's going to be 2-hour blocks, right? So like an 8:30 to 10:30, 10:30 to 12:30, we'll have 125 young children in the school for summer learning at one time. And then they go home and the next 125 will come.
Is that comparable to what we had
Yep.
Year before?
Yep.
It's typical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's really, and this year, we're really tight for space because of all the movement that's happening in the district. We are having to run the entire summer program at Torringford. So that's gonna be the ESY program, right? So for the Student Services Department, they've got about 75 kids participating. And then we're gonna run elementary, middle, and high school all at Torringford, so that Dean and his crew, well, we're not able to be here. That was an agreement we made with ONG, right, that we would stay away from this campus. And because of the movement and the changes in the configuration, work that really needs to happen at the various buildings. We're gonna be at Torringford, so it's gonna be very cozy, but it's gonna be good. We did it one other time with everybody there. It's gonna be fine. Currently, I check the numbers once a week. As of yesterday, or as of Monday, we had 141 children at the middle school who were still on the list to be invited. Now, remember, some of those children at the middle school are being voluntold they have to come, right? So having said that, there's a fair number who are failing a course by 1 point. So grades have not closed yet, so there's still an opportunity for an assignment to be turned in or whatever. So I'm thinking that we'll probably lose some of those 141. At the high school as of Monday, we had 205, but I can tell you that of that 205, 80 plus, so almost 90, again, we're within a point of passing. And again, the cutoff is, they still have a few days. When do grades close? Sorry,
16th.
the 16th. Okay, so there's still opportunity for something to change. So thinking just based on history and what we've seen, I think it's fair to say at the high school in the neighborhood of 100. And the same at the middle school. So if you look at that, we'll have about 450 K to 12 or entering grade 1 through grade 12, and then 75 from student services.
And those numbers are typical?
Yep.
Staffing?
Well, you remember we said we were having trouble. We did.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape, right? Because we did put out another sort of plea. We leaned on Mr. Scott and asked him to go room to room and, you know, say that
Speaking of volunteer.
well, exactly, we'll buy pizza, we'll do whatever you need. So I think right now we're in a better place. We're well equipped to do what we need to do with the numbers that we have.
Good. Anyone else? It's sort of sad. We're at the end of our last real agenda item. Till September. Or till August.
Scheduled in August. We're scheduled in August.
We're scheduled. I'll get to that. I don't know if that'll be in my comments for the good of the order or whatever. Topics for future meetings, homogeneous versus heterogeneous grouping. I'm also thinking we should be taking a look at that 50% minimum grade for first marking period thing too.
Over 50, right?
I don't know if that's policy or if that's us, but we can serve the policy.
That is in a policy. It's in the grade policy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think we could start that discussion if we choose to. But that would be something, anyone else, topics for?
Great presentation, a lot of information, a lot of clarification for me personally, so thank you.
Kristen?
Sorry, it sounds right.
Yeah, that's
Thank you
not,
so much, again, to the high school team, for the hospitality, yesterday, as well as the great presentation tonight. Keep up the great work.
It's a great meeting. It's a very thorough presentation. Once again, as Christian did, I want to thank the high school for their hospitality to us yesterday. Like I said, the presentation was very thorough. I have to admit, some of the numbers went some of the numbers went over my head, but that's a matter of mine not being able to see the screen and not and not the numbers that were presented.
Clarissa?
Great.
So,
No, just thank you to the high school team. Thank you for all you do and thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Josh? Guess it's down to me. For a huge thank you for everybody. First of all, on the committee, we've had great attendance, great participation from committee members and other board members. And I couldn't be more appreciative or respectful the amount of attention that we have paid and the participation that we have had. Also to our professionals, Marissa and Sue, who have kept us going and done all the real heavy lifting and just made sure that we stay on track, and to Josh, who makes sure that we are connected and ready to go for that. And I was Andrew.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't raise my hand. It went up. I just want to thank when you say thank Josh, I just want to thank the IT department, because we did have a flawless blue book SAT exam. So thank the IT department for that this year. They did a great job. We did have no problems. Not an easy thing to do. Testing almost 1,000 people at the same school, same time. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
wanted to add that one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for all of that. As I was telling Mr. Pearson at the beginning of the meeting, the first kid who would tell me how many days till the end of the school year, I would be ready and tell that person, usually him, how many days until school started again. And we do have at least a month off, and the August meeting may or may not happen. That'll depend on a lot of things. But we may be off until September, and we should take advantage of that just to recharge and do all the things that teachers do during the summer, which is to say, get ready for next year. Once that calendar turns to August, teachers start thinking about what they're going to do next year. It's going to be a fun year, a better year, and so on. And I think we can have that same hope. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Some of
Second.